Hello, and welcome back to Little State Big Voices with myself, Shahida, and my fabulous co-host, Tracy.
Y'all, how's it going?
How's it going with you? I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually
How's it
really good.
going? That's good. I love that. I love that for us. It's really nice outside too. The weather is gorgeous. You would think I would have stepped foot outside today. Didn't do it.
You
I did
haven't
go
been
out
out?
yesterday. Not
I've
today.
been out just for a little bit, and then I just went to go run to get something out the car, and
Mm.
just it's 45 degrees, and it's only in New England do you say, "Oh, it's 45 degrees," and it feels like, "What? Is that spring? Do I smell
I
spring?"
mean, for
That feels
February, that feels amazing. That's good. That's good
It
news.
feels amazing, and
Yeah.
it is nice. It is nice, and I think this week we're supposed to get up to like 52, the
I did
high by
kind of
Thursday, I
see,
think.
yeah, some warm. So that's the weather you have to kind of be careful because that's when, folks will start going outside with shorts and flip-flops on, like
What
really
folks?
losing their minds.
What folks?
Some people.
What folks? Because none of the people I know have ever gone outside at 50 degrees, 45-degree weather with sandals and shorts.
Well, people will do that.
People, some people will do that.
Some folks will do that. I caution against it.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting week in Rhode Island. It's a lot of little things going on. There was a big protest this
Hmm.
weekend. There's a new group called 5051. I don't know if that's not because it's like 5051, and it's like 50 states, 50 protests, 50 states, one cause.
Okay.
So it's pretty new that's coming out, and what they're doing is they around the country protesting, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, especially on their policies and what they're doing. Basically, that this man should not be making policy because he does not work for the government. We have not voted him in. So they had a protest. I want to say it was yesterday. I want to say it was yesterday at the State House.
I
I
did
thought,
see Gabe Amo on, it was either on his stories or something. He was on the steps over there
yeah,
near the State House. So I don't know if that was part of it as well. I did repost it on our page. Anytime I see him doing stuff, I just repost it. Sometimes I actually take a moment to wait and see, but I trust that he's doing the good of the people. So I usually will just repost
and
things if
he
I see
and
him.
he is.
Yeah.
Let me see. I think I have like a little clip from the news. Let's see.
Hundreds gathered on the steps of the State House this afternoon to protest the sweeping actions of the Trump administration and Elon Musk. They want state leaders to continue to fight for Rhode Island. NBC 10's Aaron Coogan is live right now in Providence.
So it was yesterday.
Yeah, John.
Okay.
So I thought they were going to show the crowd because across the street from that crowd were some Nazis.
Really?
Not a lot, not a lot. And I will send you the picture so that you can put it up on our page because it was about maybe 15, maybe 20 people, but they had their signs and they had their faces covered.
Of course they did.
Again,
Like the Ku Klux Klan.
cowardness, of to be in Rhode Island. And so they particularly had well, it's the same thing to me, but it's white nationalism flags or white nationalist flags and, some posters. They got run off, and then it was about 20 of them, so it wasn't a lot. But I am noticing a lot, and I think we all need to be like, really aware of how much white nationalism is growing in Rhode Island. And it's probably always has been there, but I feel like they're very vocal. I think when you go through towns and you see Trump flags flying in people's yards, I think that more often than not, they are pretty much the white nationalist.
So there's a page on Instagram and they specifically just follow people, like they just take pictures of people who are like aggressively right-wing Trump supporters, and they take
Hmm.
pictures of them and they post them on this page so that you can kind of like roast them.
It's I don't even care to roast them because you're never going to change but I need to know who they are.
Well,
Is
I
the
think that's
page
part
Rhode
of it.
Island page? Is it
It's a
Rhode
Rhode
Island?
Island page. I have to look it up and see. So I think I might have followed them too the other day, but basically it's kind of like so you can like dox these people and like do stuff to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be careful in that too because then you dox and they dox you.
Yeah, that's true.
So I agree and definitely protesting and being out there, but
Let me see if I can find it.
I needed to stay within their group because what happens to us is completely different what will happen to them when it's like they're on crime stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But my thing is if you are already, you know what I'm saying? You're already getting what you want from these idiots. Why are you now still showing up to protest? Like they're trying to do everything that you want already. So now, so just sit the hell down and be quiet. So
But it's
obviously,
never about those policies
right.
per se. It's always has been about exerting their insecurity in
I
their
wish I could
space in this
find
world,
it.
in America specifically. So that's the issue.
Yeah, definitely. It's and they're all, they're going to be there. And what really makes me mad is when I see like a caravan of them. Like they're coming from other places
Yeah.
sometimes. A lot from New Hampshire. You see a lot of that. New
Hmm.
Hampshire, from northern New England. I've seen that on the highway before and been like, this is not cool.
Oh,
This
you
is not.
have? Yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't
It
seen
was a
it, but
while ago. It was a while ago, but
it doesn't
it
matter.
was disgusting,
Yeah,
to say the
yeah.
least. I'll find it, and when I find it, I'll post it. But yeah, there's someone who's just dedicated to just going around and like taking images and like and exposing these people.
They
So,
need to. I mean, like I said, I'm not sure I'm not engaging with
and
them
they're not saying like go
specifically.
out and dox. They're just saying like these are the people who
I
are,
need to know their faces.
yeah,
I would
they,
love to know their faces. I want to know who you are,
yeah,
because they could be they could be your children's teacher.
could
They
be.
could be, they could be your doctor. You need to know who these
That's
people
why a
are.
lot of stuff just starts at home. And then I think too, a lot of things as people, we need to just start using our own instincts for things. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Usually when something's not right, you could feel it in your spirit
Hmm.
about a person.
Hmm.
Usually,
Hmm.
some people are definitely wolves in sheep's clothing. I've had those experiences where I thought I knew somebody's true intent or their true nature, and then things happen and it shows who they really are, and you be like, damn, this
Yeah.
person really was a snake. You know what I mean? And I'm not even talking about like friendship, I'm talking about professionally, in that type of realm where you're working with somebody or you're engaging with somebody and you thought that you had the same set of standards that they did, and then you come to find out like not only do you not have the same set of standards, theirs directly conflict with yours. So,
Yeah. I feel like that is it's like, yeah, that is such a issue. And I guess we're all dealing with it to an extent of like,
mhm.
because it comes down to your real core values. And I look at people who support Donald Trump as not having who support Donald Trump as not having the same core values as me.
And they
And
would argue that with you.
and that's what I was just about to say. And they will argue that, you know, I'm sorry. They do it for whatever reasons. It's,
For the eggs that they
fiscal,
can't
or
get.
definitely it was the eggs. All kind of different things of reasons why they support this man. But when you try and lay out the racism and the misogyny and all those things, how the gymnastics that they do to dismiss it, to be like, I don't think he
It's
really feels that way, or that's not how it is. But you can't tell me as a black person when somebody does something that's racist against not just myself, but my whole group of people.
mhm.
He's lumped my whole group of people as the bad guy. But that's how America has been. But it's difficult to maintain those friendships. And I'm glad that a lot of people who I thought were friends, and I found out that they voted for Donald Trump are not pushing the friendship anymore because I've cut it. It's almost like a long-handled spoon situation. People who I actually have to deal with, I can deal with you respectfully as a human being, but I don't like you. And I'm glad that I'm not getting any people now trying to like explain to me or trying to keep that friendship because I don't want it anymore.
And you don't necessarily need it.
No,
You
I
don't.
don't need it at all. I
So
don't need it at all. So just moving on from that. But
I love, leaning into building community is something that I used to like to do before anyway. But I think
mhm.
now more than ever is a great time to build community. And you yourself have really been conscious about being proactive and saying like, well, I mean, it's reaction, but there's also some proactive things that you are looking towards as far as like, just getting more involved, more engaged in things that we can um take ownership and leadership of. So, and that's
So
basically,
speaking of that, I did a event just half hour ago. It
I know
just
I know you've been doing a bunch of stuff. Like, go ahead, spill it, sis.
so I actually went to this event at Let's Art. They were sponsoring it, and it was basically the Freedom to Read Act that is going through that they're trying to get through um the state house. And what the Freedom to Read Act is basically kind of targeting book banning. It's
Mm-hmm.
specifically book banning on, LGBTQ books for young adults, but book banning overall. But this one was particularly for that. And so it was basically trying to show you how to write letters to the editor and op-eds, or getting your thoughts together to actually do this for this particular cause. Book banning is a big thing, and it affects all of us. And
Mm-hmm.
as African American, as like Latina X, that a lot of the books that they are targeting are for people, black people, brown people,
They
and
hate a book
the
about a
history.
little black girl's hair. Oh my God. They will
Like,
ban that
the
in a
fact that you would
heartbeat.
ban a book, like a 20-page book that's just basically pictures of a black girl in an afro discussing her hair with her father and who's trying to make her feel good in the world, that is a banned book? That makes no sense to me. So a
So
lot of
bans in schools, and maybe I don't know how far it's gone with banning the sale
libraries too.
libraries. Buy the books and keep them in your house. Educate your children. I've been saying like that's kind of a constant theme for me, and that goes for allies as well as people of color. And those books are available to purchase still. You know what I mean? So if they're not
But books
available,
are expensive.
books are
And a
expensive.
child should
That-
be able to go to the library and get any book that they want,
True.
period. And the idea that the books that are geared toward us or our history, because you don't want to own up to what the history is of this country, because you don't want to own up to the fact that you tried to make, black girls and boys feel like they were othered because they don't have hair like yours, because you feel some type of way about that. We have let these organizations, these right-wing religious organizations that should not be involved in our government,
Hmm.
should not be involved in our government. Separation of church and state was made for a reason. And here we are, 2025, fighting this in these moms of liberty. If you don't want your child to read about LGBTQ, don't buy them the books.
Right.
You can opt out of that, but that's not where we are.
Right.
We
Well,
are
you
in a
can't opt
place.
out of life because you can ban the book, but if your neighbor is has two dads, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do? Move?
And you can like go ahead and repeal gay marriage. The people still gonna be together.
They still gonna be together.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that's not gonna change the fact that the world is changing, the world is evolving. I watched yesterday the Lisa and Cult Jam story on Lifetime.
I forgot about Lisa Lisa.
And this is a perfect segue. Loved Lisa. Wanted to be her. All the boys wanted to date her when I was in school. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize she was so young when she got into the industry. But where I'm going with this, she
Mm-hmm.
was like 15.
Oh, I didn't realize she was that young
So
either.
when like those
Yeah.
album covers that we saw her on, like with Cult Jam, she was like
Uh-huh.
16, 17, 18 years old.
Okay. All right.
She had a friend. Never heard of this woman in my life until watching this documentary. Not even documentary, it was a what do you call it? Biopic.
Okay.
She had a friend who was a masculine lesbian. So like
Okay.
what we would call affectionately call a stud. And so she had this friend who became a backup singer for her. And apparently she was like there in those formative years of Lisa and Cult Jam. She
Mm-hmm.
was on the road with Lisa. Not only was she part of the musical family, she became a best friend to her and
Mm-hmm.
almost a sister, like
Mm-hmm.
a surrogate sister, which if you think about her age, 15, 16, your mother's not with you. Your mother doesn't, her English is like is there, but her mother couldn't even like properly read the documents that she was signing because she was a minor.
Mm-hmm.
But this friend had music industry experience, having been an artist before. And so she kind of went to her for advice. She went to her for like the things that she couldn't go to her male bandmates for,
Mm-hmm.
to talk to, sexual harassment, different things about being a woman that only another woman could help you through. We've not heard about this woman because of the homophobia in the industry. And it made me think of Whitney Houston and Robin. And I was just like, wow, the music industry really helped to cultivate that culture of homophobia. And and one of the things they were saying is like, there are a lot of gay artists, but they don't flaunt it. You know what I mean? And they wanted this woman, her name is Tony. I think she was like Tony
Tonys
Minaj.
and Tonys.
Tony with an I. And they wanted Tony to kind of tone it down a little bit. I was thinking about the brat. Like I
Mm-hmm.
always knew that was a lesbian. I always
Mm-hmm.
knew Queen Latifah was a lesbian, but they
I
would
did not.
girl that it was given lesbian the whole time. And
It,
MC Light needs
you
to
know
stop
why I
playing with
didn't?
us.
You know why I didn't?
Tell me.
Because it didn't matter.
It didn't. It
It
doesn't matter.
and that's what I'm saying. With any homosexual person, your preference, who you date, it really doesn't matter to me.
And I just always was like, well, I guess she just doesn't want to tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew that. Like that's not news to me.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just that kind of thing. And I hope we don't go back into that type of society where people feel like they have to go back and now they have to hide who they are again.
I
Um,
feel like if we keep on this trajectory that we're on right now, that we will get to that point. I mean, it'd be and it's not just gay people either. We're really taking it back, 100 years with rights. So it could possibly get that way.
yeah, well, Kamala said we're not going back. Just because she didn't make it into the Oval doesn't mean we can't keep that energy. Because I'm not going back.
That's why I'm saying, write letters to the editor. That's why I went to that like course today, is to kind of like get my thoughts in order. You know, I still haven't figured out where I fit in here. Like what is my cause, what it is that I want to do. And I feel like a lot of it is I'm thinking more or less about the people behind us, like my grandchildren, your
Yeah.
future grandchildren. What are we going to leave? And their schooling and how they feel about themselves. I'm consistently talking to my grandson. He's so ignorant, y'all. I'm telling y'all. He tries to play me and get me all emotional. But about African Americans not just being slaves, or enslaved people, because that is not our history. Because they were inventors, they were artists, they were, we've done so much, and there are so many African Americans and Africans who fought against that from day one. But the laws and the policing and everything were kept us in there for 400 years, kept us enslaved for 400 years. It wasn't that we accepted that. So it's hard, and I feel like, okay, my place is educating the youth behind me, like, their place in this world. Because if you consistently think that you are nothing without white men freeing you, then you don't believe the strength that you have in yourself or in your people. You don't, and I feel like that has been torn down the last few generations, that we have gotten soft about our history, so I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do, but
Yeah.
I'm going to start writing some letters to the editor.
Start writing some letters
Providence Journal's going to hear about me.
use these platforms while we have access to them. People can get
Yes.
online and say anything at any time. Use that opportunity to spread information. I've been seeing so much more interesting and new Black history
Hmm.
this year more than I have in prior years. Because for a long time, what was it like? We had the peanut butter, we had Martin Luther King. We
Hmm.
had that basic Black history. We had the Underground Railroad. But I'm learning more, like just even deep diving into Mansa Musa, the richest man who was a Black man in his era in his lifetime. So the wealthiest man in ancient times was a Black man, Mansa Musa. And there's so much history, so many things we can learn, even about other cultures. Like even cross culturally, if we talk to people from Jamaica, they could tell you about the Maroons. I think it was the Maroons that were like they fought against slavery on their island. You can learn so many different types of culture from just talking amongst ourselves, as well as doing our own research. But it is just important,
Each other.
not fighting each other.
All came from the same spot. We were distributed throughout the world. We are not our enemies.
Not even. And it's interesting to see other cultures preserving Black culture because they admire it so much. So if you go on Instagram, you can see people in Japan who barely speak English
Mm-hmm.
having a whole Caribbean carnival, and
Oh,
like
wow.
dancing, and they have carnival in Japan.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
Did
think
not
that
know that.
if part of it is like an international effort, if you can
Yeah.
tie in people who do love and want to preserve Black culture. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you look at certain places in China, they're like going out of their way to make their hair kinky. Like they have developed whole processes to look African.
I
You know what I mean?
did not.
Yeah, there's so much out there. So it's just like, and then also buying within our culture too. Not that Black people can't also be right wing or Republicans, but I think the great majority of us, as our election displayed for us, are more liberal leaning or moderate.
Mhm.
So supporting Black businesses. There's one, I think it's called, let's see, there's a black website. Is it called Niaspora? Of course, I'm not gonna be able to find. I can never find the things that I'm looking for. But there are these websites you can go on where you can buy everything from, Q-tips to dishwashing liquid to batteries to bread that are Black owned companies, not
Mhm.
just the status quo stuff that we're used to. Like we all know we can get t-shirts from a Black person. We all know we can, a lot of emerging cosmetic lines are coming up. But what about your everyday, run of the mill things? If we could plan accordingly and start actually spending more of our dollars, at least a specific amount, because my understanding is that some of these businesses that we have been boycotting, like Target, are really feeling the financial impact of us pulling our dollar away. And if we can, you know, in honestly,
Can find something on that, because I'm really hoping, because I know that the NAACP is doing a big blackout on the 28th,
on the
which is
28th,
in a couple of
exactly.
days. And I'm saying, that's great, but one day is just
But
not enough.
it's a start. It's a start. But interestingly enough, people will be like, well, I use Amazon because it's quick, it's this and that. I ordered something from Amazon 2 days ago because I was like, I really want to try to get this quickly. Why is it I'm not going to get it until March 3rd?
Is
So
it? Might not be Prime. Is it Prime?
I only buy stuff on Prime. So they're doing something's going on and they're tamping it down. So at one point there was a Amazon boycott like a couple of weeks ago, and I think that impacted some deliveries because it was taking much longer than usual for stuff to come. And then I ordered something else, and like I said, I'm not in a rush for it, but almost everything I order is Prime. So I'm like, why is it that I got free shipping and I thought I ordered it under Prime, but it's taking over a week now? You're
Because
saying? So
sometimes it's not, a lot of times it's not Prime and you have to like switch it over. Because it happens to me
to
all the time,
toggle
but I'm
over,
trying not
I have to
to.
go and look. But
Yeah,
honestly, I think something's
the
going
basic
on.
things usually are too. I'm not cheering Prime.
Something's
I mean,
going on.
Amazon
No,
is the
I'm not
thing.
either. But I'm saying
I've never seen
if
it.
I can wait a week for them, I can wait a week for my other stuff. And then
Mhm.
I'll just order it and I'll actually
But
just
also,
pay.
it's also too, another thing that we really should be cognizant of is stop being so lazy and not wanting to get up and go. I get it when it comes to like, the wintertime and cold and people are out in the stores, but a lot of our local stores need us to show up.
So I'm looking at my order, and it was a
Hmm.
small thing. It's just a picture frame that I ordered because I was trying to get it by a certain time. I ordered it February 21st. The
Hmm.
estimated arrival for it is March 3rd, and it says Prime 2 day.
I don't know.
I'm about to hit them up and tell them I don't want to pay at all. I'm like,
Well, yeah, because you pay for Prime and Prime is part of your subscription and
yeah,
it's today. I've never had that issue with any of my Prime. But again, I'm starting to do more or less showing up in the store.
yeah,
For
showing up in the store, and it's
showing
like
up in the store.
these stores ain't
And
shit either, though.
but
A
there are
lot.
a lot of black things I am trying to that I order online. Like I went to like for instance for Target when I told you before, like the lip bar, I couldn't get any of their stuff in my local
Yeah,
Target. But if I would go to another one, it would, sometimes it would be there. But I ordered it online. I ordered a couple of things and I got them in a week.
and don't get
And
sucked
I
in,
wasn't
people.
expecting it that quickly.
Don't get sucked in because Target is trying to do their Black History stuff
Yeah.
this month. Don't buy nothing.
Mm-mm.
Don't
No.
buy anything. Let it go to clearance and then go to Costa
Somebody
Rica or
asked
wherever
me
they send it.
why I was boycotting Target and not
Hmm.
Amazon. And this is the reason why I'm boycotting Target. And I think I said it before. Target went in hard after George Floyd. They went in hard in supporting Black businesses. I mean, you couldn't walk in the store and not see something of like from the African diaspora. They went hard and they made sure, like on all of our Instagrams or whatever, that they were, it's like almost like the Dove, how they went in hard for the Crown Act. And that's why I would support Dove because they have been from like what, since 2012, very hard pushers of the Crown Act. So if Dove came out tomorrow and just been like, oh, we're not going to do that anymore because it doesn't matter in this new administration, I would no longer support them. But I would be very disappointed because you know how it feels, or you had advertisement about little girls with black hair going to school and being ostracized or kicked out or told that they couldn't graduate, and you got on that cause. And that's the same thing that Target did. They got on that cause and they were hot and heavy with it. Walmart did not. Amazon did not. They
Target
went,
caved before though, under pressure. I
huh?
remember Target has caved under pressure before. I remember one year they were,
For
I
the
mean,
LGBTQ community,
yes,
we did.
they
And
went
that wasn't that
hard.
long ago. It was like 2 years ago.
It
And I
was
was
it
very
was within the last
disappointed.
4 or 5 years. Yeah, they
I was
definitely
very
did.
disappointed. It was very recent. Disappointed in that
Mm.
because conservatives were going in there and tearing the stuff down, and people were just like straight out lying, saying that there were sexual things in the children's section of because of the LGBT, and they were lying. It was a lot of fake stuff, and they did cave. They
Yeah.
did cave and said that they were not going to participate in gay pride. And again, I was disappointed, but it didn't affect, in my opinion, it didn't affect the overall Black community. you know? And I
So this is
know
the
that
thing.
I know a lot of people connect black issues with gay and gay issues. And I get why they do that, but black people being recognized as humans has been a long fight from like the time we were here. And I'm going to fight for the LGBTQ community to have their rights, but I'm not going to lump them in the same as black rights. I'm just not.
No, and they shouldn't be lumped in the same. But one of the things, and this is what resonates with me, because they always say history repeats itself. One of the ways that Adolf Hitler was able to be successful in his efforts, well, originally in kicking off World War II, was because when one disenfranchised group was targeted and affected, people looked the other way and were like, well, at least it's not me.
A
And that's
hundred
what
percent.
they do. That's how
Mhm.
fascism works. Is they target different groups and they make you break apart. They make you not look out for your neighbor because you're like, well, I'm glad it wasn't me. And
Mhm.
then we're so much stronger together. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened even in like Asia, different Asian cultures when they were banning books and things like that. And under communism, people had to bury their books, they had to burn their books and things like that. And it
And
was like,
here we are in
yeah.
2025 in the United States of America banning books. And like you said, you bring up history, and it has been historically proven how you get to fascism, and banning books is one of the first steps. And then there's so many Americans that will claim that they love this country and they love Americans, but they really hate deep down, because you can't say that you love America and hate me because I feel, I'm liberal or I believe in all rights for everybody. And you can't say as an American you believe in all rights for anyway. It's it's but I do have a good story, a decent story.
Okay, yes, let's pivot, let's shift.
Yeah, because these mofos know. So I was reading in the journal the other day about this deli on Hope Street, PVD
Mm.
Deli. Oh, it's not PVD Deli, it's PV Deli, and he's giving out free sandwiches to anybody who feels that they can't buy it. So, pretty much so the homeless going in there, and I feel like I remember what was the name of the 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 the, the sandwich shop. It's in the mall. Panera.
Hmm.
Panera used to do this downtown Boston. You remember it was a Panera near the State House. And you could go in there and you can get a sandwich, and all you had to do was say that you couldn't pay.
Hmm.
And I remember one time, me and my coworker, we legit, both of us had no money. And we went there and got a sandwich, couldn't pay. But the next day we went and paid for our sandwiches because, you have to give it back because we literally had jobs. But
Hmm.
that particular day, we was just like, I left my wallet. She didn't have any money. We was just, let's just go over there and get a free sandwich. And then we did that. So I'm glad to see that an owner is actually doing that again. I mean, it's just one of those things that, we have to be cognizant of. Like, there's a lot of homeless out here. And so,
And
congrats
we
to him.
waste so much food in America. It is disgusting how much food we waste, and what restaurants will sometimes, and it's usually a corporate restaurant, they'll,
Hmm.
pour like different kind of like toxic liquids on food so people won't go through their trash and things like that. It's like if someone is dumpster diving, they probably need the food. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah,
very special. So people go to PV Deli,
on
patronize
Hope
them.
Street. So this is
I wonder
outside
how we could
the door. Hmm?
donate that, and maybe they could do something where people could just donate their change.
I think that they do. I think you can make donations. He said in his in the interview that he did with Providence Journal, he did say that this is supported by their customers
Hmm.
and other people. So you could probably just go in and, buy a sandwich and not take the sandwich.
Yeah, no,
Because
that's
that's
very
what we
nice.
did. That's what and I'm surprised Panera doesn't do that anymore, but that's one of the things that made me like them like years ago. And that was really a good 15 years ago.
And it's Providence Vegan Deli.
Yeah, it's a vegan deli.
Nice.
Yeah, all vegan food. So, and he's been like vegan for, I think he said over 20 something years. And so he was like, he's only been there a year.
Well,
So really go and support. I mean, because if he's taking the initiative, and we all know how difficult restaurants are, and just to be there 1 year and say, let me give back. And part of his reasoning for giving back is because he said when he was growing up, he was poor in Providence. His mother, trying to work, but still sometimes they wouldn't have enough food. And so he's thinking of that and, trying to give back to the community.
that's amazing, and I hope that he prospers in his business.
I do. So that was
Nice.
my good news from
That's
Providence.
cool.
My good news from Providence.
I have some good Providence news too. There are a
Okay.
couple of ways you could celebrate Black History Month in Providence.
Hmm.
And so I found an article in Rhode Island Monthly
Hmm.
online, and it was basically saying that it was like an what do you call it? Not an expose, that's not the right word for it, but it was like an overview. It says inside two new museums dedicated to memorializing Rhode Island's African American history, and our friends that we interviewed here on our podcast are part of it. So it's basically the Rhode Island Heritage Society. They have some items up, and then it's also our friends at the Rhode Island African American Museum as well.
Oh,
So virtually and in person, you can do this. So I will post the link so that people
okay.
can go and check it out. But
Yeah, I'm always constantly amazed at the history for Black Americans here in Rhode Island. I know a
there's a
lot
lot. There's so
about,
much more than this. There's a walking
oh
tour
yeah,
also that's
yeah, there's a
available.
lot. There's a lot. And, young people, I need to get my grandson more into understanding this because he's a native Rhode Islander from his father, his grandfather, they were all born here. I'm the transplant, but yeah, it's interesting to see all the different things and I love
So,
it.
one of the reasons it's really important for us to talk to our kids about Black history is because we have to think about this newest generation, like the kids that are babies in kindergarten.
Mhm.
I saw on Instagram the other day, actually, someone sent it to me. My
Okay.
best friend sent it to me. It
Okay.
was a group of kindergarten kids in a classroom. Their faces were not shown. They were in the background, but you could hear their little voices, and it didn't sound like it was like computer generated or anything. I think these were real kids. And their teacher had a a bulletin board up with like historical Black figures. It had like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr. These children did not know who any of those leaders were. Not only did they not know who they were, when he pointed to Rosa Parks, they said, Grandma. They thought it was somebody's grandma. These children have not been educated on their Black history. And I think parents may take for granted that this is still being taught and it's available in school because I was taught this in school. From the time I was in kindergarten, we had a
Mhm.
coloring book called Black Like Me, and it had all the important Black people. I learned about Marian Anderson. I learned about, they didn't put Malcolm X in there, but they did have Martin Luther King in there. And I learned about Malcolm X later in life and got to read his autobiography and things like that, and like later on. But that was all information that I got in school. So if you're waiting on school to provide this knowledge for your children, it's not necessarily going to be there, especially even in states where this information is not banned, it's not necessarily being taught either. So it's really important, for you to take your kid to the library. You can get the books on audio. You can, as much as your child is on that tablet, put them on a tablet with the audio book or with the Kindle or something, and download some really good African American books. But definitely Rhode Island African American history is very it's
Right.
very intriguing. Even more so than what I know about Boston Black history, because Boston Black history to me is like Martin Luther King and Coretta, which I really just learned about that later in life too, like their connection and going to college and meeting in Boston. I didn't know about those things until I was an adult.
Oh,
But, and I think I actually heard about them when you guys interviewed Dart Adams. That's when I actually got,
yeah. Well, I mean, I had always known that. I mean,
I
that's
didn't
how
know that.
taught.
And I
But
grew
going
up
back
in
to
that
what you said
neighborhood.
about that video with those kids, was it a school in this area?
The teacher had a southern accent and he was a black man.
Because I'm like, when they saw Rosa Parks and they said grandma, I'm like, what grandma looks like Rosa Parks in 2025?
Grandma got lashes and a BBL now,
Thank
but
you. I mean, I'm not even talking about the BBL, but I'm a grandma. I don't look like Rosa Parks.
was
If
it
my grandson said, but
it was
I wonder, but
it was
that's
funny,
interesting.
but it wasn't funny because
No,
I
it's
was
not
like,
funny at
oh
all.
no. And now
It's
mind
not
you,
funny at all.
I don't even have grandchildren yet, but
Hmm.
my future grandchildren already have a library that I'm building for them. It's got
Mm.
2 books about Kamala Harris in it. I have so many black books. I have clothing. I have onesies with the the map of Africa on them. Don't have any grandchildren. None of my children are expecting children, but I'm ready.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But
That
going
is
back into, I told you I had something to ask you about family. I'm going to give a scenario,
okay.
and
I
then I'm
love
going
a
to tell you why
scenario.
I'm giving this scenario. So, and you might know the scenario, so I might see the light bulb go off. Okay, so say your dad
Mhm.
remarried a woman,
Okay.
not your mother, remarried a woman, and they had a child, but she had another child that she brought into the marriage. Say
Okay.
that child is like 4 years old,
Okay.
right? So that new wife and your father divorced
Mhm.
18 years later, right? So
Okay.
they have a child, then she had a child that, she had before him,
Okay.
right? So he goes and has a relationship with your daughter, with your stepmother's daughter, who he had basically raised from the time she was 4, 18 years later, and they have 2 children together.
That's some Woody Allen shit and it's nasty.
That's some Elon Musk dad shit.
That's disgusting.
That is absolutely
If you
disgusting.
raised someone, you do not turn
Go
around and
off,
fuck
sis. I don't
them.
gotta say nothing. Go ahead.
You do not. That's disgusting. And this is why when people are like, "Oh, Woody Allen, fuck Woody Allen and any motherfucker like him," okay? Because he's a fucking pig, and I
But
don't
did you
care
not hear the story before? I thought you probably would have heard it because it's been
who
like
did it happen to.
it's Elon Musk's dad. Elon Musk's dad just had 2 children with his stepdaughter.
I mean, I don't expect anything less from the devil's daddy.
That's
So.
what I'm saying. We're talking. We are letting a man. First of all, Elon Musk is disgusting too. He just had what, his 13th child.
Yeah,
Um, not
the
married,
women who are sleeping with him are disgusting, but continue.
but
As
his
bad as
dad.
him.
And he's saying, and his dad is also a pusher of like a girl should be able to get married or be involved at 12 years old. Now we have all these Christian Republicans running around here bowing down to Elon and his family and his million money, and then you have a situation where this man, I don't care what anybody says, that was your daughter. You raised that girl from the time she was 4 years old. You cannot come to me and this is his excuse. She was having a very hard time. He said she was having a very hard time. She came and she stayed with me, and his other daughter was living that he had with her mother was living with them. And when that daughter figured out that they were actually having sex, she left the house.
See, and this is another disgusting woman because the only appropriate response to that would be to murder that man. I'm sorry. And that's it.
But I'm
You
not done. I'm not done. So 3 months later, when she calls him and she goes, "Look, I'm pregnant," and he's just like, "I don't believe it's mine." He did one of those numbers on her. He said, "Because you know how women do." And he said she had the baby. They went through the test, 99.9% it's his. Then they ended up having another child together. This is your daughter. You raised her. You cannot tell me white South African man here now in the United States
and see,
just
this is
living
when
their best life trying to get us.
this is why I implore women to use your power. Use your power, women. Resist these nasty men, please. Raise
But
your daughters
who are you talking
better.
to though? Because at the end of the day, in her mind, she benefits. She benefits. So she's like, yeah, I used my power. I used the power between my legs because I knew that I can get pregnant by this man who could be my grandfather, but he has the money. And that's what I hope that was her aim.
That is so nasty
It
and
is
disgusting.
disgusting.
It's vile.
It's absolutely vile. And it's just, again, we look at these Republican men and there's, oh, we want to rule by the church. And this is the kind of nastiness that they want to bring about.
No, no, I would have to do the prison time. I'm sorry. You touched my daughter in that way.
Yeah,
I will be
I would love to know where the mother is.
I will be communicating from my jail
I
cell.
would love to know where the mother is and what she's going through. And again, like the reporter who was interviewing him during this asked him, did the other daughter leave because she felt unsafe? And then he got all indignant. Yeah, she probably did leave because she felt unsafe. If you're having sex with her, she's probably thinking, "Oh, he's going to be looking at me next." Disgusting.
But
Disgusting.
again, women, women, seriously, do better, not only with your daughters, do better with your sons. Because as a mother, you are very involved in all your children's formative years. I've been planting seeds in my children, particularly my sons, since they were little. Now, can a child stray from how you raise them? Absolutely. But they're not going to stray that far if you did a halfway decent job, usually. But this is the problem is I have nothing to say. Like I said, it's some Woody Allen shit to me, and I don't care whatever else you did in life that people want to say, oh, he did this and that was just so good. I don't care.
Your daughter. It's your daughter.
No, I
Period.
literally would off that man. I would find a way to unalive him very quickly and very expeditiously. And we just read a book, right?
Mhm.
Together, Lego's wife. And what did that lady do as soon as she found out her daughter was being touched?
I
None.
would make a correction though. She wasn't a teenager. She's a full grown woman. She was like 30 at this time.
I don't care.
When like her late no, I'm just saying it wasn't like she was a teen. It makes it doesn't make it any better, but she wasn't a teen. I'm just saying she wasn't like a child or whatever. She had already been in a marriage.
I
She was
don't
going
care.
through a divorce, and then she went to go stay with him
No.
because you know why she went to go stay with him? Let me go back to my parents' home and recoup. That's what she did.
You've betrayed all of my trust.
Exactly.
And no, no, there's no. Let
Well,
me
I'm
let me
guessing her mother
listen.
probably didn't say, okay, I always go back to this interview. Remember when it was those Judge Kavanaugh
The
hearings?
confirmation hearings, yeah.
Those hearings, and there was a woman, and she had two of her daughters with her, and she was saying what that him being charged for like a sexual assault when he was in college, how it was a big thing over nothing because that's what guys do. It's not like real, and her daughters were back there shaking her head. So her daughters probably came to her at one point and said like, yeah, a date rape, whatever, and those are sensitive
Stop
subjects,
normalizing this
but
stuff.
she normalized it and her daughters was like, yeah, yeah,
You got
yeah.
to stop normalizing this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's so crazy. And I was like I said, going back to watching that Lisa special, I was like, the things that we've been through as women, that we have
And you would think we
finally
would come
emerged
together.
to start using our voices in more positive ways and preventative ways as well. You know, we're always going to be prey, as far as I can tell. Women are going to be prey, but
Yeah.
more women are giving us that opportunity to say, listen, I'm telling my story, you tell your story, to hopefully that would be to prevent more things like this from happening. But yeah, if it's coming from inside the house, I mean, what do you do then?
And but a lot of it comes from inside the house. Like I said, everybody, raves about the Christian values of the South and the Midwest, and a lot of that stuff is in the house.
I saw a woman again on Instagram a lot this week, and she was
Hmm.
demonstrating good touch versus bad touch with her little girl, and the little girl was maybe 3 or 4 years old, and she was
Hmm.
showing her like this type of hug is appropriate, but the hand just a little too low, bad touch. And so she was, and it's sad that we have to do that,
Yeah.
but I'm so glad. And she was a Muslim sister too.
Hmm.
I'm so
Hmm.
glad that she was taking the time to tell her daughter, because, obviously she was in fearful that something would happen to her child, or maybe she had been through that herself. And she was telling her daughter, and we should tell our sons too. And I've seen some parents
Yeah, you
do
definitely need to tell your
their
son.
boys too, but it's just, it's
That's why priests got
terrible.
away with so much.
It's terrible that we have not evolved more as a society. And like I said, if you have half a brain in your head right now, like try just using it, especially if you're raising children, like just be proactive about this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, and definitely boys as well, because I feel like they suffered a lot more than we actually have given credence to, because we're so used to it just being about girls. But we see how so many boys have been sexually assaulted,
Hmm.
and and it's not a conversation that that we real I'm trying to think, did I ever have a conversation with my sons about how they should be touched? And I don't think I did.
I don't know if we did either, like a specific one, but
Hmm.
we went out of our way to be protective of them. But you
Yeah.
are not with your children 24 hours a day. That's just the
Hmm.
reality. They're at school, and we don't even know if everybody at school is necessarily safe. You send them to a sleepover. You don't know. And that's where a lot of stuff goes down with kids, is they're at somebody else's house
Yeah.
and things happen to them. So it's just,
A lot of times it's really your house, the people that you invite in, 9 times out of 10, that's where it happens, because it's somebody that you trust, so they trust. And then that's when, and I know I've had the discussion about, like, if anybody ever tells you that I will be mad at you, or that I don't love you or anything like that, that isn't, I told that to all three, because at that time I was watching all those Lifetime movies back in the
yeah.
day, and I was
Well,
like,
we've always
you
told
will never ever.
our mantra to our kids is always, you can tell us anything, even if you think we're going to get mad, or
Hmm.
even if you think something bad is going to happen. You can tell us anything, anytime.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you
And
won't.
my thing was always, if somebody tells you not to tell me, that's
Yes.
when you tell me.
Exactly. And
So,
I'm more conscious, like, I love little children. So when I see little kids, even if I don't know them, I instinctively want to say hello to them, or tell them that they're cute or whatever. And
hmm.
if a kid is not receptive to it, I usually try to do it in front of their parents. But if they're
Yeah,
not
me too.
receptive to it, I do not push. And I
Hmm.
don't, and I say, you know what, you're right. I'm a stranger, you don't know me.
Hmm.
Or something like that, just because I'm very conscious that, that's how people get in. They groom children, you know what I mean? And they appear to be a super nice person or do whatever. It's usually the person you probably least suspect. And that's kind of,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's usually the person you least suspect. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's
And
it's a
sometimes it's
lot.
other kids. sometimes it's other
Sometimes it's
children.
other kids. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you really, it's sad,
Have to
but
be open to them having, yeah. So I read about Elon Musk's daddy and I was just like, the whole family's disgusting. The whole family's disgusting.
yeah.
And I just could not believe that. And had that been a black man, every Republican would be like all if he was if Elon Musk's dad was
Yeah.
Democrat or if Elon Musk, it
Or if
would
he had 13 children.
all over the place about like look how disgusting this man, not the hypocrisy of this of these people, it knows no bounds so far nothing. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of shock you with that story because when I was like, let me see.
Didn't know
If
that.
anybody knows about this is a hot mess. But all right, is that it for us?
That's all I got. I don't think I have anything. When we record the next time, it will be March. We'll be in a whole new month.
This month, f- for all, and it's flying by. Every day, it's like, I can't believe I'm at the end of this day. I'm at the end of this week, or this, all the little milestones that I had for February, all just shot by. Everything.
I'm
I
just
just,
glad we've gotten through with just a mild amount of snow. I mean, we got a few inches. I think the most we got was maybe
yeah,
like 3, 4 inches. We haven't had a knock on
we haven't
wood,
had like a February
a
blizzard in like
blizzard.
a
Yeah.
couple of years, like a good while.
And I'm
So,
hoping that March is chill.
hmm
I hope it's chill. And then April, we've had an April Fool's Day storm before in New England, so I'm hoping that none of that happens.
yeah, we've
Like,
had a couple of them. I remember being in high school, and that was the first time we had like one April Fool's. But March 1st is the first day of Ramadan, and Shahida is going to try and fast this year.
okay,
I always start off. It's always that middle. I'm just like, oh, I can't do it
I
no
wonder
more.
if I should try it with you. How many
I
days
want
is it?
to because I just need a cleansing. I need a body cleansing.
How many days is it, and what does
It
it
is
entail?
it is 30 days, girl. It's from full moon to full moon. I'm sorry, new moon to new moon.
Okay. And so it's just basically what, water during the day?
No, no, no water. It is breakfast in the morning,
Oh,
and then
before the sun comes up.
evening before the sun. Yep. So before sunrise and after sunset.
Okay. And just nothing during the daylight hours.
Nothing during the daylight hours. No. Now, you know what makes me feel like I'm like the worst kind? I used to be able to do it no problem. No problem. It seems like as I've gotten older, my will and has just dived down. But basketball players who are Muslim would be fasting, running up and down the court. It depend on what state or city that they were in because it would be before sunset
Yeah.
that they would actually be playing. So if the game started at like 6:30 and it's like summertime or whatever, it might not be until like 7 o'clock that it was sunset,
Yeah.
you know. But or the men who are like working outside in the summertime and they're fasting. And I'm like, me and my sitting in my little air conditioned office. I can't do that. But I am gonna try this. But
I'm here to cheer you on. So
yeah, cheer me on, cheer me on. If I don't say anything like around the 10th, then you know that I didn't drop the ball.
listen, I'm
And
not gonna ask
the other day, I ate a whole box of Girl Scout cookies, a whole box,
what
except for
kind.
like four that I gave to my friend Rose to give to her little children. She only took four, and I ate the rest. It was disgusting. I'm disgusted with myself.
What was the flavor? We listen and we don't judge.
It was the caramel delights.
Okay.
But
I,
the day before then, I ate those lemonades, and I had never had those before. I didn't eat the whole box to myself. I was trying to share,
the
and I
lemonades are
did.
my favorite.
They are
If
delicious.
you are in Rhode Island and you know a child who is selling Girl Scout cookies, please, please DM me because I will be
Yeah,
buying.
I think I would want to buy some of those lemonades. I could have that for my breaking my fast. No, I can't break my fast with cookies, but but I could have them as a snack before I go to bed. The crazy thing about when you're fasting is you think about all the stuff you're gonna eat when you're breaking fast. And I eat the dinner, have a glass of water or whatever, and then I'm usually full.
Okay.
And I'm like, all the stuff I had in my head that I was gonna, no, I don't even, never do it. But so yeah, the next time we have our podcast, it'll be March 1st.
Mind over matter. So
Mind over matter. So
But so
until next time,
until then, you guys know where to find us. We are on social media where Facebook and Instagram at Little State Big Voices, where we're just posting like things we're doing around the city, little reels, funny stuff, places to eat, cocktails and whatnot. We are on podcast platform Spotify. You can watch our videos on YouTube and Spotify at Little State Big Voices. Where will you not find us, Shahida? Where can we not be found?
fucking TikTok.
Motherfucking TikTok. Can't
I just
find us
like
there.
saying
You
fucking
can
TikTok.
find us there, but you will not find new content. We are not
There's
engaged
no
in that now.
activity.
You can
But
find
we're
our
also on
archives.
iHeartRadio as well.
Yes,
We are
iHeartRadio.
on their podcast,
Ooh, before
iHeartRadio.
we go, we just have to give one plug, and that
Oh,
is to
okay.
Rhode Island's
Oh yeah.
Black-owned radio station, which is called The Juice. I'm going to pull up their call number
I'm gonna make sure
right
I have
now.
that. I'm gonna start listening.
Hunty, I was listening in the
You
car
okay?
yesterday, and it
Mm-hmm.
reminded me of WILD. It really
That gives me the
it
feels.
touched my heart. So people from Boston or Massachusetts, you know WILD. That's the feeling that I got when I was
And it's
listening
called The
to.
Juice.
It's called The Juice. I'm looking for their call numbers here. I believe it's 93 point The Juice. Let's see. I actually programmed it in my car.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. And it's Lady Ruckus and DJ Ruckus. They're well known around Rhode Island.
Yeah, because I
So
feel like I've heard the name DJ Ruckus
yes.
and Lady
And
Ruckus.
Lady Ruck,
Is that
yes.
his lady? Is that his lady? Is that his
That's his
girl?
wife. Yes, that's his
That's
wife.
cute.
93.7. So this is a
93.7.
black owned radio station. So before this station, there was another station that was a popular urban station in Rhode Island and it got shut down. We actually heard about this from another podcast, another local podcast. So not only did it get shut down, but they replaced it with like country music and all this other stuff. So it is wonderful to know.
Why that happened?
It is
Well, I
wonderful
mean,
to know that a void is being filled in that
yeah.
space.
All right. I'm definitely going to cue them up, and especially since you say it sounds like it reminds you of WILD, which, of
Yes,
course,
ma'am.
I
The
love.
Juice 93.7. Their website is www.thejuice www.thejuice937.com and you
And
can
you
go
can
on
and you
there.
can get them on
You can stream.
iHeartRadio as well.
You can stream them. Yes,
Okay, good.
absolutely. But I turned it on in my car. So I was like,
Okay.
on those days when I just get into the car and I turn it on, I haven't plugged my phone in, it's going to go right to 93.7 because I
Okay.
support
Good.
it.
Okay, good. I'll do that as well because I don't have
Black
anything
owned,
plugged in.
not just black music, black owned.
And they're local.
They are local.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them. I'm happy to hear that. All right. Well, until the next time, have a
Until
great week.
then,
And
we'll
we will
see you and stay black.
stay blackety black, black, black.